everyone. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you might be. Excuse me. Today is August 15th, 2024, and we are here with Will Work for Food, the New Possibilities Hour. As you know, the Will Work for Food program brings you an amazing speaker or speakers every week. And there is no charge for these programs. Rather, we ask that if you are able, that you make a donation to a food bank of your choice or the one suggested by the speaker. And it's just amazing now. This has been going on since the spring of 2020, founded in April or May of 2020 by Natalie Armstrong-Moulton, who just saw the need there. And then as the regulars know, Jeff Kitchaven and I both co-moderate these weekly. So we're going on and we just keep finding amazing speakers. So today it's my pleasure to tell you that we have been told of donations to food banks around the world of a total of $604,211.35. And that's just so amazing. That's well over 6 million meals served, thanks to the generosity of the attendees every week and of the generous speakers. And thank you so much. Today's speaker is Michyl. Let's see here. I want to get this right here. Put on the old glasses. Michyl Shannon Quilty, and her preferred food bank, a suggested food bank, is the Bethany Faith Food Pantry out of Austin, Texas. And she'll tell you a little bit about that. But I'm just thrilled that we're over the $600,000 mark. Congratulations, everyone, and onward. 650,000 now is the immediate goal, I guess. So always have to have a goal in sight. Thank you. So as I said, we've got Michyl. We're privileged to have Michyl Shannon Quilty with us here today. She's a mediator out of Austin, Texas. She's a conflict consultant and a trainer, and her presentation is on leading out of drama, conflict with compassion. And she provides groups and individuals with tools that they can apply, language they can use to navigate conflicts without energy zapping drama. And we all know how drama can zap energy. And so turning that drama, that energy that would have been used up, and instead turning it into productive relationships and solutions. She has 20 plus years of experience in conflict management in Hollywood's entertainment business, which if you read the papers or see the internet, seems like there's conflict always of some sort there, given we're in the world anyway, but in the entertainment business. And she has coordinated with producers on television shows and blockbuster feature films, including 3 Oscar-nominated movies. She has a master's degree in dispute resolution from Pepperdine University's Strauss Institute for Dispute Resolution in Malibu, and is a licensed provider of Next Elements Leading Out of Drama system. So we have a lot to learn today, I'm sure. Leading out of drama, conflict with passion. Michyl, if you tell us a little bit about your food bank, and then the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'd be happy to share. The Bethany Faith Food Pantry is located at the Bethany Christian Church in East Austin, and they've been serving Austin since 2006. It was founded by Sister George Booker and Sister Alice Bowser, and the current coordinator is Virginia Hemphill. Highlights of their service are events during the holiday season. For Thanksgiving, they donate entire meals. 120 turkeys are donated, and the church members organize all the other sides. At Christmas, they provide food baskets to over 200 families, and in ordinary time, each week they hand out groceries in the morning and in the evening for people who work during the day. The first monetary donation was placed in the church's mailbox with a note that said, "I am in need, and I know others are too. Thank you for starting the food pantry." The envelope contained $2. No donation is too big or too small. And even though the food pantry is housed in a faith-based setting, their giving is not narrowed to people of faith. They serve the general community.
Well, thank you. That sounds like wonderful work that they do. So thank you so much.
You're
So
welcome.
let's hear about leading out of drama.
Okay, you covered a lot about me, so I'll just move right on to where I found leading out of drama. In one of my courses at Pepperdine, I read Dr. Nate Regier's book, Conflict Without Casualties. And when Nate spoke to the class, I became very interested in this new approach to conflict. And after graduating, I did intensive training with Nate's firm, Next Element. Now I'm a licensed provider of leading out of drama. Today, I'm going to share some information about leading out of drama and how to use it in mediation. I want to offer you a new definition of conflict. Conflict is the gap between what I'm currently experiencing and what I want to experience. Let's take, for example, Starbucks. Driving to work, I want a coffee, it's on the way, and there are 10 cars in line at the drive-thru. Since I didn't order ahead, I think, do I wait in this line and be late to my meeting? Or do I skip the coffee and be on time for my meeting? That's internal conflict. The gap is I want the coffee and I want to be on time for my meeting. And there's energy in the gap. And I can choose to use that energy in a positive or negative way. And when I use energy negatively, I create drama. This gap can be seen in any conflict, whether it be internal, like my Starbucks example, or external, conflict with another person. In mediation, both parties come to us because there's a gap between them. And that's what we as mediators are there to explore. How do we help parties close that gap in the time we have with them? And how do we close that gap with the least amount of drama? All of that is to say, conflict has the potential to get us to a new place. Drama inhibits us from getting to that new place, and positive conflict can get us there. Much of what I'm going to share with you is taking the negative conflict, which we call drama, and converting that conflict into something positive, which results in gaining confidence in your relationships and building trust. So in this way, conflict is not bad if you are able to recognize it for what it is and use the energy of conflict in a positive way. That's what I'm going to share with you. A way to turn that negative energy into positive energy. And before that, I want to explore drama a little further. What is drama? Why is that not? Drama is the energy vampire in every relationship, community, and organization. In reality, drama is what parties bring to mediation in the first place, the negative conflict between them. Their own drama that they've carried in with them can impact their families and potentially communities and organizations they're a part of. Let's learn more about drama. Drama is what happens when people struggle against themselves and each other with or without awareness to feel justified about their unhealthy behavior. Here's the definition. We just read the definition. I want you to think about your family or an organization, or maybe your church, and think about the drama you've experienced in that setting. Leaders who turn conflict into drama might avoid difficult conversations, capitulate when pushed, shut down when they don't feel heard, or use passive-aggressive tactics to get what they want. They often blame others for how they feel or manipulate to achieve ulterior motives. Use threats to get compliance and double down on failing strategies. Next, we're going to explore drama in action and the roles people play in drama. What would it be like if you knew how to invite people out of it? This is the drama triangle that helps us understand the drama roles that people play. This triangle was created by Dr. Stephen Cartman, and we use this with his permission. In looking at the triangle, it's important to remember these are roles we play. They are not who we are. It's like the hat that we put on during conflict. Part of what makes leading out of drama so effective is that we use a tool called a drama resilience assessment, or DRA. That measures the level of drama and the likelihood of you being in a particular drama role. Every one of us plays each of these roles at different times. Our most dominant role comes out when we are the most stressed. As I highlight each role, see if you can find the one that most fits you. The first role is victim. Someone in the victim role can be unsure of self. They sometimes have low self-esteem, and maybe they give in or give away their power. They often do this to keep the peace. This results in low confidence and morale and avoidance. The second role is rescuer. Someone in the rescuer role has all the answers. They really want to help, and that can be a good thing, but sometimes they overhelp or overstep or they take over. They also offer suggestions when they're not asked for them, and they often get angry when their suggestions are not taken. This can result in loss of initiative, dependence, and resentment. This is the persecutor role. A person playing this role may act superior. They might issue ultimatums, and they might be condescending. If someone plays this role, the interaction may cause fear, guilt, intimidation, and secrecy within an organization. Here we see some examples of roles people can play in drama. The victim role. A victim may say something like, "I'm okay if you are," or "I am good unless you're not," or "Is it okay if," or "Would you mind if?" Rescuer role. Someone might say, "Maybe you should try," or "Why don't you? Have you tried?" Etc., etc. Persecutor. You're always, do it or else. I'm done with you. Perhaps you recognize one of these roles, either in yourself or in someone you work with. What is the answer when you're encountering people in these roles? We believe the answer is compassionate accountability. Compassionate accountability is a skill that can be learned. These are the practices of compassionate accountability: openness, resourcefulness, and persistence. Another note about the Drama Resilience Assessment, or DRA. I mentioned the assessment measures your propensity of going into drama and the roles that you might play. It also measures the level of compassion skills that you already have. These skills are used in a communication cycle that is based on compassionate accountability, and we call it the compassion cycle. Let me explore passion with you because it's an often misunderstood term. Compassion comes from the Latin root meaning to struggle or suffer with. A person can struggle with themselves or with others. Compassionate interactions are by definition okay, meaning each person is okay in the relationship and each person is treated with respect. Compassionate accountability means engaging in positive conflict with the purpose of encouraging personal responsibility while preserving dignity. And we do so by seeing each other as valuable, capable, and responsible. What would it be like if you knew how to invite people out of drama? Leaders who turn conflict into positive results empathize to build emotional connection, validate feelings without condoning behavior, share their own emotional experiences, ask curious questions to learn about others' perspectives. They can look for synergy and point out strengths, or adjust to new information, clarify their boundaries without attack or blame, ask for new behaviors without threats, and own their own mistakes. When we put together the practices that we talked about, openness, resourcefulness, and persistence, they become a communication process. In our compassion cycle, we start at open, move to resourceful, then to persistent. There are strategies to use at each step of the compassion cycle to help you stay out of drama. Following this communication cycle can keep you out of drama, and this can help you practice compassionate accountability. Here's an example of how the compassion cycle sounds at the beginning of a mediation, and we notice that each skill is included in this cycle. I am so glad the two of you decided to come to mediation to address your issues. Together, let's find a way to move through a conversation that will allow you to resolve your dispute. I'm committed to helping you stay on topic, and I will do my best at moving you forward so the two of you can create a settlement agreement that both of you are satisfied with. I'm going to break down that statement for you so you can hear how the skills actually fit in. Open. I'm so glad that the two of you decided to come to mediation to address your issues. Resourceful. Together, let's find a way to move through a conversation that will allow you to resolve your dispute. Persistent. I am committed to helping you stay on topic, and I will do my best at moving you forward so the two of you can create a settlement agreement that you're both satisfied with. Let's talk about how I use leading out of drama in my mediations. If you recall, I spoke earlier about compassion, and the definition is struggling with or struggling together. Considering that, I set up my mediation seating differently than we would typically. Rather than putting the parties across the table from one another, I have them sit on the same side of the table, and I explain why I've done that, sharing that I want them to struggle together in order to reach their agreement, rather than being in opposition or struggling against each other across the table. This may not work in every dispute, but it's my go-to for seating. I frame the ground rules in compassionate accountability, which means I invite each person to see each other as valuable, capable, and responsible. Remember, I just shared the example of using the compassion cycle with you. I would always start the mediation with the same compassion statement. Well, I have different compassion statements depending on the parties. I'm so glad the two of you decided to come to mediation to address your issues. Together, let's find a way to move forward through a conversation that will allow you to resolve your dispute. I am committed to helping you stay on topic, and I will do my best at moving you forward so the two of you can create a settlement agreement that both of you are satisfied with. Here's how I use some of the compassion skills in mediation. For openness, I validate feelings or empathize. With resourcefulness, I'm curious whether you're ready. I'm curious, and I encourage them to be curious as well. Persistence, I reframe the agreements and the commitments. Each step assumes that we are compassionate and accountable. If the person is taking a position that's full of drama, I can invite them out of drama by using a positive compassion statement. Here's an example. Open. I hear that you have a lot of energy around this and that this is very important to you. Resourceful. I'm curious whether you're ready to share some ideas and options to help you move beyond this. Persistent. I will be here to listen and help you move forward so you two can evaluate these options together. All of this culminates into me being able to identify which drama hat somebody has put on, either the victim role, the rescuer role, or the persecutor role. And I also encourage them to move into compassion. Leading out of drama and the principles of compassionate accountability inform the way I mediate. As a tool, I believe it's a perfect complement to mediation. If you're interested in learning more about leading out of drama, send me an email or hit me up on LinkedIn. And here's the link. I believe that Natalie posted the link for Bethany, but here it is too. And I hope you'll be able to give. They do good work. Thank you for listening.
Wow, that was fascinating. Thank you so much. There is one question here in the chat, and then we can open the floor up for anyone who has questions. Tim asked, are you pulling from Mark Lesser's concept of compassionate accountability? What a lovely concept.
Hi, Tim. Compassionate accountability is something that I learned from Next Element, which is based in Newton Falls, Kansas. And Dr. Nate Regier has written a book called Compassionate Accountability. And so working with that team has led me to leading out of drama. I'm glad you like the concept.
Fascinating. Could you give us any real life examples? Of course, without naming names or giving away anything that would be confidential, on how you've used this and how it's made a difference in the lives of the people you've been working with and led to a settlement?
Sure. I had a principal and a teacher who got off on the wrong foot. And one of them thought they got off on the right foot, and one thought they got off on the wrong foot. And I had like a bell went off, and I thought, oh my gosh. And I guessed that that's what happened. So my question was just saying that I'm curious to know what your experiences were when you met. Are you open to sharing that with me? So it brought them, they took turns, And one of them said that they got off on the wrong foot because one said, it's my way or the highway. And the other said, it's my way or the highway, but she was joking. So that really helped us to be able to get to the heart of what was happening.
You know, so often in civil litigation anyway, probably in divorce and, you know, mediation for all these different kinds of disputes. I'm not in the divorce arena, but certainly in the civil arena, so often people are, you know, polar opposites and just so firm in their beliefs that their perception or that their position is it, and saying they won't move and standing firm even though you try and get them to move or they won't move much. How can you give some examples of how you would use this to help the you know, the reluctant negotiator actually negotiate?
Sure. Think about that for a second. I think that, and perhaps this is something that we just do as mediators innately, but for me, I wrap up and put my leading out of drama hat on in many aspects of my life. So it's second nature for me. And I think what I would try to do is ask them to see why something is important to the other person. For example, I learned from a very smart psychologist that when you give people the opportunity to sum up what the other person has said and make sure that they got the information correct, and then to say why it makes sense from the other person's perspective. Doesn't have to make sense to you, but understanding that the other person has their own belief and they bring their history with them to a mediation. And it's interesting. It's an interesting way to loop in a little bit of psychology, but also some leading out of drama.
Yeah, now that's certainly a good thought. Back to Tim again. He tells us that Mark Lesser also wrote a book about this concept called finding clarity. So for anybody who's interested in that, I pass that along. And then we do have a couple of more questions coming in the chat here. And one of them asks if you could please repeat the drama hats or positions of the drama.
I absolutely can. I start at victim and go around to resourceful and persistent. So victim is at the bottom of the triangle. We find that when you start at that particular role and you end at persistent, you can have some healing or some accountability and some ownership. So to answer your question specifically, the hats are victim, and that person, we use like a okay, not okay wording in our training. And so in victim, their role is I'm okay if you're okay. In resourceful, their role would be I'm okay, you're okay if I'm okay. And persistent, it would be I'm okay and I don't care if you're okay. Persecutor, not persistent. So there's victim, rescuer, and persecutor.
Okay.
And we have to remember, I'll just reiterate that we all play those three roles at some point in our lives. We, in that DRA that we have people take that assessment, it's really awesome because you can see the measurement. And if you look at a DRA before you take your class or the course, and then you look at it a few months later, if you do another DRA, typically there's growth or a balance and a shift between the higher score for compassion and the higher score for victim or drama.
Fascinating. We have another question here. What training, for example, the Strauss Institute that you mentioned, area specific certifications, et cetera, did you find most useful in developing your career in conflict resolution?
Sure. One of my favorite classes was cross-cultural mediation. And that was one of my first classes. It was very intense. And it was taught by Professor Singh, who I believe has been a guest on New Possibilities. And it really dove into where people are coming from and reminding us, similarly to what I just said about people coming to a mediation with different histories, that with when you're dealing with different cultures, it's even a bigger deal as far as that coming with a different history and just a potentially completely different background. And then in mediation, we talked about how to find a common ground so that they could work with one another. Another class that I loved was I had a class that was just basic mediation, and the professor was fantastic. And he went through, well, it was basic mediation, and it was a really effective class. And one of the things that I have learned about my time at Pepperdine, I learned after my time at Pepperdine, which is I got a good education at Pepperdine. Yeah, it's a great place.
I have to concur. That's where I went for my mediation training too.
Wow.
And if you go to the Malibu campus for it, it's a great view. You can't beat that. You definitely feel very compassionate while you sit there probably and look at the view.
Yes.
Anyway, does anybody have any questions? You want to just raise your hand? We can open the floor. I see you, Ann. Hello, yes.
Good morning, and thank you, Jean, and good morning, Michael, and thank you so much. Just really learning a great deal. It calls me back to when I received my mediation training many years ago, and it was just pretty basic in terms of course, listening, empathy, and feedback, and creating an atmosphere where people can help solve problems. And I'm glad to see that so much more is being done now, because we're complex human beings. And this calls to mind a book I read when raising my second child. And I realized I needed some guidance. And the book, I think, is called Raising Your Challenging Child or Raising Your Complex Child. And in the book, I learned that the things that children do are not willful. For instance, some children cannot wear certain kinds of socks because the socks are irritating to their feet. On my block in Chicago, a family with a young boy who would not wear anything but shorts, which in Chicago in wintertime can be a problem, but they just learned to work with him and his comfort level and help to set some guidelines. So it just seemed to me in listening to you, Michyl, it's kind of also going back to some of the things that people bring when they come into the mediations, what some of the mindsets are already, and how as human beings or as mediators, we learn to understand, accept the differences and the complexities of people, and how we can work from there in terms of being successful mediators. And I really thank you for sharing. It isn't quite a question, but happy to have you comment on anything I've said.
Thank you, Anne. I think that one of the things that we do, similar to the child with the shorts on and potentially 30, 40, 25-degree weather, is that we have to honor people and meet them where they are in the mediation. And visualizing the drama after you've met them is, or, you know, some people don't live in drama, which is wonderful. But when we're nervous, we can bring drama. And so meeting people where they are and then inviting them to come to another place in mediation, I think is really helpful. And honoring the person.
You know, in social popular vernacular, so to speak, you might hear, you know, women can be called drama queens, or young girls, oh, she's a drama queen, or whatever it might be. You know, people aren't necessarily dramatic or in drama when they come to mediation. They're so often even angry or kind of resigned to the situation and feeling hopeless, maybe, or feeling gotta, you know, we're gonna do something here, I'm gonna win, or whatever it might be. Do you consider those things to fall within your definition of drama?
I would say yes, but drama in this case is a little different, I think, than a drama queen or but I totally hear why you're asking the question, because we I think that drama roles can sometimes be subtle. Like if someone comes in angry, he may be angry because he feels like a victim. He might be angry because somebody's been a persecutor. And it's subconscious. It's not who we are. It's just what we've experienced. And that, I think that's what we bring in. And like I said, drama is not a bad thing, because we can come out of the drama and then go to compassion. So drama is not bad if we can find the positive energy around it.
Yeah, it's not necessarily bad. I look at, you know, the junior high school age or the high school age, everything's drama, it seems like, but depending on the day and the hour, which is unfortunate, I suppose, to have such a high intensity drama. That's not talking about mediation, but yet many schools have programs for dispute conflict resolution, you know, among students. And now that we're in the back to school time frame here in Los Angeles, where I am, school just started this week. And I mentioned this once before on Will Work for Food, I think, but one of my young granddaughters, kindergarten or first grade, was helping the peacemaker in the class. That's what they called one of the students, who was the peacemaker, to then be like what we would call the mediator, to try and resolve whatever dispute or drama or whatever it was. And when this particular granddaughter, I picked her up from school one day, and so she was 5, 6, maybe 7 years old. And she'd been helping the peacemaker all day, and it interrupted her recess time and her lunchtime. And she was very disappointed because, as she said, that the other child wouldn't do what they, i.e. the peacemaker and the assistant peacemaker, wanted this child to do. And yet I take this and I think that's such a common thing in mediation, or in just in life. But in terms of your program, any thoughts on that? I mean, we can never make someone do what we want them to do, of course. But just using your system helps bring them out of the drama.
Well, you can invite them. And I see Catherine has a similar question as far as some folks who you seem like there's no cure for that. And I think that we have to, what you learn in leading out of drama is that it's just an invitation. We can't force them out, right? We can't, we're not there to fix anybody, but we can invite them out of drama. Sometimes we can, well, I would get into training. I'm not supposed to get into training, but I can share with you that there's a way to match people and try to invite them out. And so what we learn is in the compassion statement that you can continue to make a compassion statement. You make a statement, so you do all 3 steps at once, so that becomes a statement, not necessarily open and then somebody responds and then resourceful and then somebody. So it's one statement. It's a trip around a circle, right? The cycle. And asking questions and being curious and sharing with them and validating them and the strategies that you learn and leading out of drama really helps continue to try to invite people out. And, we want to recognize what people are going through. And part of what I think mediators do is they see who has the pain in the room. I think that I can see pain in the room. It's not like somebody's like, "Oh, I'm in pain," but you can see the pain in the room. And sometimes the nuggets and the gems and the important parts of what people say are what you hear is what they didn't say. So sometimes you can ask, things that are unsaid are sometimes the root of the issue. And so I strive to, or my goal is to invite them to share with a compassion statement. I don't always get it right or perfect, but that's my goal.
Admirable goal, and hopefully we see it more often than not. Yes, that sounds great. Thanks. Does anybody else have any other questions? No. I just find this to be such a fascinating and interesting way to look at dispute resolution and conflict. I think compassion can go a long way, and whether you're dealing with somebody about their own issue, or a risk manager, or somebody, a lawyer who's not personally involved in the dispute, it can really help there too. Let's see, do we have any more questions for our wonderful speaker today?
I'd like to share one more thing.
Okay.
Okay. One of the things that folks who take a course, what they share in their feedback is often that leading out of drama affects their personal lives as well and their family lives because they can check themselves. And I can say in my relationships, having had some of the people in my circle do leading out of drama, some dynamics have shifted. So it's very interesting because people can go, oh, I think that was victim. Ooh, I really felt victim and then persecutor, like this. Like somebody might feel victim and they respond as a persecutor. So that's kind of what I say when I say we use the different roles. We all use different roles, but my point in bringing this up is that a lot of folks use it in their professional lives, but it does affect an outlook.
There is another question here. How does this approach differ from the mainstream?
Tim, what exactly do you mean about mainstream?
You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Tim.
I was just responding to our host's perspective that this seems like a unique approach. So I'm just wondering why it's unique. Compassionate accountability feels just like great human wisdom and technology.
Okay. I think that what's different about this and what's important about this is that we can identify and name where we are. And I think that when we don't have this, which I'm not perfect at this, at leading out of drama, but when I didn't have it, I was a major rescuer. And I still am a little bit, it creeps in. I really gave people advice. And when I said that often a rescuer gets upset when somebody doesn't take their advice, that's somebody that was is my major drama role. And I've checked that. And I think that I would imagine there are other systems out there that that could help people tap into their own behaviors. But I found this to really click for me. And I kind of say I'm a recovering rescuer.
Sounds good. Yes, Anne?
Yes, I want to share with Michael, I kind of call that my fixer. You know, I have to fix everything. A lot of it, I don't in general, but with family and so on. My daughter said to me once, just listen. And that's all she needed from me. And believe me, I learned my lesson. And so I do try to curb my fixer tendencies, because if I'm talking with adults, they most likely know some of the things I might suggest, and perhaps I haven't made that choice. I just wanted to go back to the book I had read. The one thing that was so valuable in that book, especially in raising a young child, is to understand a child's actions aren't willful, and also to never use negative phrases, you know, frame it positively. Rather, some people called it, oh, you're so stubborn, you know, to frame it, you're very determined, you really know what you need, and so on. And now, of course, when you're relating to adults in a mediation, you're a little bit don't use that kind of language, but you are always looking for an opportunity. And I think, as you said, it's to frame things positively for people and to frame what they're saying in a positive way, and to see if it can go one step from there in terms of resolving mediation.
I'd love to comment on that. There were 2 points I'd like to make. And one of them is about being a rescuer by nature. And it's really important for me to remember that I can share my ideas and my guidance if I ask the person permission. Are you open to some of the ideas that I have about this? And sometimes, maybe like your daughter, they go, no. And then you can say, I'm here when you're ready. And that really makes a difference in empowering people and letting them have their space and letting them know that you're there. And that's a major thing that I practice now, like in my recovery, so to speak, is asking permission. And then the other thing that you said is something that I've learned, maybe not from leading out of drama, but it may match what some of you already do. But when you're in a mediation, people say, I don't want you to treat me like I'm an idiot, or I don't want you to do this. Instead, something that many of you probably already do, but change that and reframe it and say, well, then what do you want? How do you want to be treated? You don't want to be treated that way. How would you like to be treated? I want you to empower me. I want you to listen to me, instead of, I don't want you to shut me down when I talk. You could say, what I hear you saying is that you would like him to listen to you in those moments of struggle. So I think both of those sort of go with what you're saying, Anne.
Oh, very interesting. Yes, thank you. As Paul's commented here in the chat, sometimes naming behaviors allows us to more intimately understand it, or them, depending on if it's one behavior or more than one behavior, I guess. So that's the thought. Then I think that we could go ahead and end this session. Then, Michyl, could you do provide training, right? Can you just tell everyone how they can contact you if they have any more questions?
Yes, let me share my slide that has my information on it.
Okay.
I
And
think,
you're on LinkedIn, as are, I guess, most of
yeah,
us. So.
exactly. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there.
Okay.
My name is spelled kind of funky, so you got to try and find me that way. But I tailor trainings to what people need. I have done this work with churches and their leadership, and organizations are very happy to have this. I think I stopped share. Can you see me, or my?
Oh, yeah, no, we can see you. I took the screen off. I figured everybody had seen that enough now. We
Right.
can see
Oh,
you
yeah.
instead.
Okay. Thank you. So I offer trainings in different time frames and tailor it to people's needs. So I could do a shorter version with more of the basic information and practice, because we practice a lot in the courses. And then there's a more intense version that I think is really the way to go. And that could be taught in 8 hours and an 8-hour day. I find that that's kind of grueling in any setting. So you could do 2-4 hours, or I think 90-minute chunks of time are really good. So I can tailor training basically to what your needs are.
Well, thank you so much. This is fascinating, and like I said in the beginning, you work with Hollywood, so we can
Yes.
expect to see the benefit in the movies that come through, right? And TV.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you everyone so much for being here. Michyl, thank you. And if you can support the Bethany Faith Food Pantry, that would be great. $2 or any amount or whatever food bank is of your choice. And then if you would please let Natalie or myself or Jeff Kachavan know the amount of your donation. We just added to our running total, totally anonymous, and that would be fantastic. Thank you so much, and all good. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, different Zoom.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you again.